Hi guys, this is Ola from Cardpond. You're welcome to this brand new Fusion 360 series. This is the first video in a list of Fusion 360 exercise portfolio and is going to be targeted towards beginner users. There is a simple reason why I put this together. Every year we have new intakes into the design environment or design niche, and more people are coming into 3D models and in particular Fusion 360 also. So I'm kind of making myself to be the gatekeeper who ushers you into Fusion 360 and 3D design world. Having said all this is going to be a series of exercises which would increase in complexity as we go along and as we continue with subsequent exercises to be done. However, in this series, I'm not simply going to be telling you how things are done, but I'm also going to try to drop some little nuggets to tell you why I'm doing the things the way I'm doing them. Alright, so without so much more to say, I guess we just jump right into the exercise. So we're going to use an approach which I'll explain right now. We have a body like this. It might look a little bit complex, but in reality it's very simple for us to do. And I would say that the trick to doing designs like this is to take it one step at a time. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide this whole complete body into 4 different aspects. And so we have this rectangular parts, all of these rectangular parts, which I'm going to call part 1 or body 1. Next we have this that goes upwards this way. I want you to know that this particular part, let me call it part 2. Just this part is 2. I'll call this part 3. This part, and lastly I would say this is 4. So basically part 1 is going to be this way. It's just a simple rectangular object with some features included, that is the host. Second part, which is the part 2, is going to be something that looks like this. Let's see, it's going this way just a little. This way, that's part 2. This is 1. The third one, which is going to be something that looks like this. And then lastly we have the part 4, which is a simple concentric circle, cylinder kind of stuff. So what happens is that we're going to be designing this in different steps. We begin with this, come over here, and then we complete the entire thing. So for now we begin with our first part. For the first one, we do understand from the dimensions that we have here, we have 50 plus 21. We're going to assume, well, the assumption has to be done, that this is also 21, because we assume that this section here is equal to the section here. So 21 plus 50 plus 21 should give us 92 for this. And then we have the overall distance here as 142. So we're going to be starting with our first part, and I'll hide all of this for now. To begin, we're going to go over to create sketch and select on the top plane. Move this aside, and I would choose to start by drawing my rectangle. To draw my rectangle, I would choose a center rectangle because it allows the origin point to begin from the global origin. So I'll pick my first point and drag it somewhat this way. Alright, so we have that my dimensions are in inches, so we do not want that. We want it to be in millimeters. So what I'll do is, after dropping the rectangle, I'll say escape. I'll come over here and alter this to millimeters. Yours might not look like this, but depends on what version you're currently using. Alright, so we currently have the dimensions to be 142 and 92. So what I'll do is I'll go over here to sketch dimensions. Say dimension of this is 92. And the dimension of this part here is 142. Now we do observe that we have some extra features here, which I guess I'll just call it the fillets for these four corners. So we'll go ahead to place it on this sketch. Now what I'm doing is I'm placing everything that I'm going to try to do every single feature that I can in the sketch, so that when it's time for us to create our features, we do not have too many features down here in order to reduce the computing time. For this particular component, it might not really matter, but when you are doing something like a very complex one that has a lot of features, then if you make a change, it has to load all the features completely before you can proceed with your work. So the best thing for us to do is going to be to try to create the features here, which means we're going to create the circles. And after creating our circles and the fillets, all we need to do is just to extrude. So we have just a single feature in this place that covers the entire first part. Alright, but if not, then we would have done the extrude, then we do the fillet, then we do the holes, which is a lot of unnecessary stuff. Okay, so with all of this said, let's proceed. So I'm going to place circle. I'll place it just 1 point on this construction line, and we have that the diameter of the circle should be, based on our drawing, it is 18 millimeters. And also let me just quickly say that, okay, so this circle here is 18 millimeters in diameter, and then the radius here for the fillet is 10. So we're going to apply those two stuff right now. So I'll just hide all of this. This is 18, so say 1 and 8, and then we have a fillet here that is 10. So I'll go over to fillet, select on the first and the second, impute the distance, which is 10, and we have it this way. Alright, so at this point we obviously know that this circle is not properly positioned, so we're going to try to position that appropriately. And so let me just erase some of this stuff. So we're going to try to create that appropriately, and then what we're going to be using is, we observe from here that we have 21 going in this direction, and also 21 going in this direction. So we're going to be applying 21 millimeters from both sides, which is going to give us smart dimensions. This is 21. We also do the same from here to here and make these 20. Okay, so now we have an issue. We have this showing up here. What we'll do is I'll delete this center construction line. We were not able to change the dimension because this is already fixed to this line. As you can see, that the color is in blue, is in black, the color of the circle, which means it's fully defined. And editing this is going to give us a lot of problems. So to solve that issue, we have to delete the relationship between this circle and this line. So for us to do that, we'll just easily select on the construction line and we could say delete. Now we see that this is this way. It's kind of weird, but yeah, that's what we want. So we place the dimension between this and this, and we notice that it's able to be done this time around. So it's 21. Say enter. The next thing for us to do will be to create I'll create a construction line coming upward this way, I would also create a construction line coming this way. And the reason for this is we have a feature called the mirror tool, which allows us to mirror a particular component, entity, or whatever across a mirror face or a mirror line. So the object to mirror will be this. I want my mirror line to be this. So it's going to have the very same dimensions and properties of the first one. With that, I'll say okay. I'll repeat the same process to the base and say mirror object 1, object 2. My mirror line is the second construction line which I just created, and I'll say okay. Now with all of this, what I'll do is I'll apply my fillets to the rest of the edges that we have. So I'll say 1, 2. This is 10. 1, 2. This is 10. And lastly, 1, 2. And it is 10. Alright, so now with all of this, you do not have to bother with this. You're just telling us that some of the constraints are being deleted in the process. So we're done. However, if you notice that the sketch is everything is in blue, which means that it is not fully defined yet. And by that I mean that we are able to move this rectangle and all of these things separately or to different locations. And that also signifies to us that we need to fully define what we have here. So what I would do is, for me to fully define it, I have to place a constraint or some constraints with respect to this center origin point. So what I would probably do, since I've shifted it separately or sideways, I would just say that from this center point to this, I guess I'll just call it, let's see, to this line, is going to be 92 divided by 2. So I'll say 92 over 2, which is half of this entire distance. Now that's fully defined, which means that it cannot move anywhere anymore, except to delete a dimension or something. So for now this is good, and we finish this sketch and convert it to complete our first component. So I finish the sketch, we have it this way, and I'll go to extrude. Extrude allows us to tick in profiles, so I'll do this. We know from our drawing that the dimension for this is, the thickness is 14. Hence, we're going to be applying 14 millimeters to this, and we see here, I would say 1 and 4. Go to OK, and that's that. With this, our first component is done. For the second part now, what we're going to be doing is, we're going to have some, let's say, assumptions, because apparently the dimensions are not complete, but we know that this is 15. Taken from here, we know that the distance from this point to this point is 41. So if we want to know the overall length of this, we're going to say 41 plus what we have here plus 41 here also, because we're assuming that the same distance here is the same at the other side. So we know that the thickness here is 15. Hence, the overall length of this is going to be 15 plus 41 plus 41. So that's 82 plus 15, that's 92, 97. So this is 97 in total distance. This is 15. However, we do not have a dimension for the overall height of this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to assume and to have a fixed height for this, because it's not given in the drawing. So what we'll do is, since this overall thing is 97, the overall thickness of part 4 is 45. So let's just say this should give us this. Let's try to use 10. So we use 10 millimeters here. Alright, so let's proceed and do this real quickly. To begin, I would click on create sketch and place the sketch on this plane this time around. So with sketch on this plane, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to create a rough sketch for what we assume that we have here. So it's going to look like call it a trapezium. Yep. So I just pick a line, random line, do something like this. 1, 2, 3. Notice that I'm doing it very roughly. Now I would create a construction line. Under our sketch palette, I'll change the line type to construction. I'll create a construction line from the origin point going upwards. I'll say check. I'll place some constraints to what we have. We want it to be symmetrical for both sides. So I'll go to symmetry, the first line, the second line, and the third. Alright, then we have the distance here as 97. So I'll say this should be 97. And the distance here, we assume that it is 10. So I think 10 should be good enough to work. So we have 10 there. But we know that the part is sitting directly on body 1. So what we'll do is we're going to place extra constraints. For this, I will say I'll go over to create, go to project/include, then I would select on intersect. And then what the intersect does for us is that since we are using our current plane, which is this center plane here, this plane we have, intersect allows anywhere the plane intersects or cuts with our component or a body, then it creates a construction line there. So like you can see this red line here. So I'll select on this face to create the intersection width. So the intersection is going to be done, and I'll say okay. So what I would do is I will select on collinear, which is then I'll pick on this line and this construction line we just created. So now that drives it downwards and makes it constant at that point. However, we notice that our drawing is still let's say blue, which means it is not fully defined. It is apparent to us that we do not have all the dimensions that we need. However, we're going to be picking a dimension from this point, which is 58. I guess I should have seen it earlier. So we'll pick 58 and make 58 the height of this. So for that, we come over and say dimension from the base to the top, make it 58. And at that point, it becomes fully defined. All right, now we can finish our sketch. We understand that the thickness of this is 15 millimeters as seen here. So we go over to extrude, I'll select on the profile. I'll place the distance to be 15, but we have it going in just a single direction. So what we want is for the 15 to be the overall distance, which means we want it to go this way and this way, but completely as 15. So I'll say symmetric, and whole length is what I gave as 15. So with this now, we can see that we have this. I would say okay, but before that, we ask the software to join the two bodies together. Now we have what we have on our screen. Thirdly, we proceed to our next component or our next body, which is the body 3. The body 3 is done quite similarly to what we just did with body 2. So it's going to be a little bit, I guess, fast. So we have the dimensions for our body 3, and apparently the overall length of this is what we have here. The overall length here, which was what we had for this guy, I guess is 92. And the overall height of this is also 58. So we have 58 here. But what we're going to do for this particular distance is we're going to assume that it is the same dimension as this circle here. So that's going to be 55 millimeters for us. So I guess we have too many rough nonsense on my screen right now. So I'll just clean some of this crap. So we have this, and we proceed to create our drawing. So to begin, I would start a new sketch. I'll place it on this where is that plane? On this plane. Now, just like before, I'll draw something very rough. It looks somehow like this. Goes this way, comes this way, down, and closes up here. Alright, we have the overall distance between this and this to be, as we saw here, 92. So we'd say 92. Next we have the overall height of this from this to here, as we saw here, to be 58. So we say 58. We have another dimension here which we did not take into consideration before, which is the distance from here to here, and it is 22. So we come over here, we say the distance for this is 22. Now we can easily just place the same dimension here, but I'll say equal to, so I want this line to be equal to this line. So this is 22. And let's see. Lastly, we have the thickness here from this point to this point to take the dimension 58. So we place our dimension here as 58. With all of these, we have one more thing to do, which is going to be we'll create a new line. Sketch palette. I want it to be a construction line. I pick it up from the origin point and take it upwards. I also do what we did previously by creating the intersect sorry that my drawing is covering it, but I'm using the intersect again. And I would select afresh the top plane of this face and say okay. Alright, so at this point I'll place symmetric constraint. I want it to be equal on both sides, this side, and this. And I also want collinear, which is this line should be placed on this construction line we have here. So from the right view, we have something that looks like this. Hopefully we all have the same thing, and I would say finish sketch. With the sketch finished, I'll create my thickness, which we can see here as 15, right? Kind of cover the entire thing. So I would say extrude, place it here, repeat the same thing we did in the previous one. This is 15. We want it to be symmetric, we want it to be whole length, and we also want it to be join and not cut. So we have this. Okay. Alright, so we're getting there, and so far we have completed 3 different bodies. And lastly, we have this. This is going to be easy. We're going to create concentric circles of, let's see, diameter 30 and diameter 55. So 55 is for this outer one, 30 is for the inner one. And when we've done that, we're going to extrude by 45. So what we do is I'll go back to sketch. I'll click on the, let's see. I want to use the center plane located here, but the body is covering, so I'll hide the body and select on this plane here. So if the body is back up, then you see that it's positioned at the proper side. So what we'll do is I would create a circle, right view, or sorry, 2 circles. The first one is of diameter 55, that's the outer one. And then secondly, I'll create a new circle of diameter 30. Say enter. Alright, we know that the distance between the base point and this is 58. So we would place our dimension as from this line to this is going to give us 58. Let's see, 5 and 8.
Alright, and lastly what I want to do is that we are going to place a constraint, horizontal, vertical, between the origin point and this, to keep it vertically constrained to each other and make it fully defined in the process. However, I can already see a mistake that we've made, but it's not something to be worried about. So what we're going to do is, since we've done this, we know that the distance is 45. I'll say finish this sketch and extrude, select on what we have here. We want it to be 45 like we did previously. We want it to be symmetric, and we want it to be the entire length, and lastly we want it to be an extrusion, which is join and not cut. So when I do this, we notice what we have. It looks very similar to what we have in the drawing, except for some few irregularities, and that's because we had to assume a lot of things. So what I'll be doing right now is I'll go back to some of those sketches, like this sketch. So what I would say, if I come over here, sketch 2, sketch 3, I'll drag this downwards, show dimensions, and show dimensions for this. So instead of having them to be 58 and 58, so I'll change this to, let's say, 55. This is still not good, so I'll say 50. Alright, and then I'll do the same to this. Let's say 55. Let's see what that does for us. Okay, so Ctrl Z. I guess the 58 of this is enough. But for this particular sketch, I'll change this. Oh, this was a mistake. It's supposed to have been 55, not 58. So this is 55. Let's see what we have. Alright, so yeah, now it looks like what we need to have. Okay, I would hide these sketches. And lastly, I'll bring this back up and create another feature. If we notice in our components that we have extra parts within here, which came from parts 2 and 3. But what we need to do is that we need to cut the extra parts that the circle occupies from these bodies. So in the process of doing that, we're just going to create an extrusion cut. So we have our sketch still here with us, and I would say extrude. I'll rotate to the inner circle. Select on this. Take it to be, let's see, or take it to be symmetric. Extent is all. It should go the entire distance. I don't know why it's doing that. And I'll just cut it all through. Alright, so I'll say okay. And now we notice that when we rotate this, we do not have that feature inside anymore. So with all of this now, we can boldly say that we have completed this first exercise. It looks just like what we have here. Yeah, we had to assume some things, and but at the end of the day, we have just what we intend to have.
Alright guys, so that was a little bit longer than I expected. However, if you have something to add, something you don't like, or questions you have, do not hesitate to place in the comment section. And if you think that you would like to continue seeing this type of content on your channel feed, then hit on the subscribe button, hit on the notification bell so that you get updated when I make new uploads. Also, if you like the video and you like the content that you've seen, do not forget to hit on the like button. And I guess that's all for now, so I will see you guys in the next exercise.